One17 Capital. So we take it a good ride with all of you over a period of an hour. So I'll be running us through the overview of this webinar and how it's being structured. So we're starting with, I'm going to give you an introduction of what One17 is about, what we do. And then afterwards, the executive director is going to take us on a ride with regards to the Halal Fund in specific. And after that, we're going to answer some frequently answered and asked questions that we've been getting from audiences and clients, prospective clients, and the general public. And then, if there are questions which we've not answered, which is of concern to you or something which you want to know, we're going to have a live Q&A session for about 15 minutes. And then I'm sure after that, we'll now have all of you subscribing to our Halal Fund. So thank you for joining. It's great to have all of you here. One17 Capital is a registered and licensed fund and portfolio management company licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission. From the things which we do is fund management, asset management, advisory, business structuring, all within the ethical framework. And we just launched what we call a Halal Mutual Fund. And that is why that has been the talk of the town. Because they buzzed in, everybody has been saying, what's this mutual fund? Anyway, I'm sure in your office there's somebody talking about this mutual fund. And we said, okay, this is very much necessary to discuss what the mutual fund is about. So, our ED, thank you for joining us, and we'll dive straight into it. What is this mutual fund?
Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for being here today. Let's talk about mutual fund, as it were. And with mutual funds, I think it starts from the concept of personal finance and how you manage your money, essentially. Now, as an individual or an institution, you're concerned about your present livelihood and your future existence and how you're going to sustain livelihood. And in order to deliver on that, you need to take a portion of your earnings and set it aside for investments. Now, this investment activity can be done or made through a number of vehicles. Either you're investing directly in your own business, or you're investing through family and friends, or you meet a fund and asset management company like One17 Capital. And the instruments that we use, one of them is a mutual fund. Now, mutual funds are collective investment schemes that are licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission and are public, open to the public for individuals and institutions to make their investments and benefit from the activities of the fund manager. So it is pooled funds that are managed by the fund manager, for which the fund manager will invest in different types of asset classes. And asset classes essentially are the investment outlets. So you have example, Sukuk, you have example, non-interest finance, compliance companies. So you can buy equities or stocks of companies that are considered to be ethically inclined. You can engage in the purchase and sale of commodities, so metals, gold, food items, and the likes, energy as well. Now, what happens with the mutual fund is that after all the investment activities of the fund manager, the benefit is brought together and spread across all the participants. So mutual funds are a good platform or opportunity for individuals and investors, irrespective of how savvy they think they are, to participate in the investment world. So the entry point is for the One17 Halal Fund is 10,000 naira. So it means that it's open for pretty much everyone.
Just 10,000.
10,000. So, and it goes as high as any amount. And I think the secret to investments, and a lot of people think that you need to have a substantial amount of savings before you start the process of investment. Now, investing is a culture, and it's a culture that you need to kind of imbibe and develop in yourself to fight against the kind of economic hassles that we're all faced with today in today's Nigeria and today's world. So advisably for everyone, it's a 10,000 naira entry. You don't have to break your bank and put it there, but it will be nice to have a portion of that being managed externally, separate from what you would do as your own investment, because there's a likelihood that you would take more risk than a fund manager would. So take the larger risk yourself, but let there be a portion that is managed like a security on the part of your fund manager so that you can meet with it. And then that is separate from your savings or emergency fund. So your savings or emergency fund is something that you would keep and it's close to liquid. You can access it very quickly, maybe within 24 hours, you can access it. With the mutual fund, it will take you like 3 business days, 3 to 5 business days. So it's not as quick. So I think for the definition of a mutual fund, I don't know if I've veered off or gone into too much depth, but I think I'll stop here for now.
Yes, there's something you mentioned about how it takes you 3 to 5 business days to access your funds. And for me, I feel like that is the benefits with it, with regards to this is that this mutual fund, from your explanation, it's open, meaning people could come in and come out, and they could gain liquidity at certain times, 3 to 5 business days, they need funds. But another thing is, it helps you to actually cut out unnecessary spendings from your savings. If you need a little amount of money, 5K, 10K from your savings, the ones you have, if all your money was in your savings, you could easily access it. But if your savings or the money you're trying to keep is in a mutual fund, you would try to make sure that it's something that is very necessary that would ever make you take money from there.
Sure.
So it eliminates the spendings that are unnecessary within your savings or investments in totality. Because I've seen people who say, okay, I'm trying to keep money in maybe an app that I will get profits on, but once they crave something, I'm craving ice cream, they will go back there and at the end of the day, it means they're not actually saving or investing. So that when you made that point, it made a lot of sense and benefits for people. So you mentioned this being a Sharia compliant mutual fund, by the name itself, Halal Mutual Fund. And a lot of people would ask, hope you're not just tagging halal to it. What are the components within that makes it Sharia compliant, that makes it a halal mutual?
So thank you for the wonderful question. Now, in the environment of non-interest and ethical investment activities, there is a governance structure and framework that is required and is checkmated by the Security and Exchange Commission. Now, for any organization that presents itself to engage in Sharia compliant investment activities, which is non-interest based, there is a requirement to have an advisory board, an advisory council of experts, or an advisory board which comprise of individuals who are certified in the principles of Sharia. So essentially, these individuals, their responsibility is that they checkmate all contracts that are entered into, that are to be entered into, all business transactions that are implemented, and the distribution approach that you do with the participants of your fund to ensure that it follows, it conforms with the requirements of Sharia. Now, just to demystify, Sharia can be seen or can be perceived as a word that is only for Muslim faith. But it's interesting to note that anything that has to do with interest, by all the Abrahamic religions, it is not permissible by all the Abrahamic religions. And the World Bank has noted in its reports that ethical finance, particularly Islamic finance, is one of the most sustainable methods of ensuring the sustenance of business engagements. Because during the recent crisis of COVID, where a lot of businesses were affected, the financial markets were down, those businesses and investments that were on the strength of Sharia compliance, Islamic finance, had better outcomes than those that were interest bearing.
Yes.
So the Sharia governance framework, or the governance framework for us when it comes to the mutual fund, is that for every document that we submitted to SEC for approval, it had the certification of our Sharia board, certifying that all the instruments that we say we're going to purchase with the monies that are gathered from the public are either going to be sukuks, they're going to be Sharia compliance, equities, and the transactions, if we do any trading, is going to be on the basis of profit sharing and risk sharing across board. So we do have a Sharia board, and if you visit our website, you'll be able to see a brief synopsis on the Sharia board that we have, Professor Dogarawa and Professor Sheikh Ziad. They're all experts, and they sit on other Sharia boards of Jaiz Bank, Taj Bank, and the rest. So the competence that they have, I think, adds to the confidence that we have and will present to the public for the public to participate in our halal fund.
Yeah, thank you very much. My next question is going to be taken from the point you made about Sharia being perceived as an Islamic only thing. And this now raises the question of a lot of non-Muslims who are like, okay, this is a Muslim only thing. Can I put my money here as a non-Muslim? So I want you to demystify that concept of it's a Muslim only thing, even though you said Sharia is a word, it's non-interest is prohibited in all interest is prohibited in all Abrahamic religions and all. Okay, we agree, interest is prohibited, but all the other things that come up to make it Islamic finance or Sharia compliant finance, because I'm sure it's not just interest. So all of this, does it not make it Islamic at the end of the day? Only in non-Muslims might think about it twice before they enter. So what is the comfort you're giving non-Muslims about this, that it's not attached to religion and it's something that's open to everybody?
Okay, so the first thing I would say is, does money in itself have a religion?
No.
The answer is no.
Yeah.
And the primary interest of any individual who is keen on investing is making a benefit, a positive benefit. Now, for any individual who wants to invest their funds for a benefit, then a mutual fund is one of those options. Now, what we have is tagged as a halal mutual fund, which adds a layer of ethical to the mutual fund. And what does this ethical mean? We're not going to invest in alcohol or alcohol-related companies, trading companies or stocks. We're not going to invest in anything that, like a cigarette company, anything that is hazardous, can present hazards to man and society. We're not going to invest in that. And you would agree with me that the world right now is paying a lot of attention to ethical financing, sustainable financing, and development. And you have what you call green bonds now. which has to do with people who have a concern about the things that affect society. So the Halal Mutual Fund is essentially open to everybody. Sharia is not a hindrance. It's only a layer to reconfirm, to give any participant the additional comfort that somebody is auditing our own activities beyond just making the profits. Because we could go in, sell alcohol, make interesting returns, and share. But then the layer of audit that comes in to say, we found out that you had traded in a non-permissible business activity or transaction, and you must take that portion out so that it does not taint the remainder of the funds. And that would be given out anonymously to a charitable cause. So it is not distributed to the contributors of that fund. And an audit is conducted on an annual basis for the company, for the mutual fund, and a certificate is issued on the compliance level of the fund and the organization as well. So in terms of Sharia being considered or giving the fund a notion that is for Muslims only, it's not. I think how I like to present it to people is that if we're interested in benefits and growing your wealth and equally having it done in a sustainable manner, first and foremost, speak to 117 Capital. Secondly, we're able to do it in a sustainable manner that conforms with people's ethics. So those who have concerns about not investing in things that are hazardous to human beings, then we're your go-to people.
Yeah, that's understandable and very clear. Let's run through all you've said. Mutual fund, you pull money from various individuals, put them into diversified asset classes.
Yep.
It's something which is open to everybody.
Yes.
Muslim, non-Muslim, everybody. The next question I'm going to ask.
Minimum entry, 10,000.
Minimum entry is 10,000 naira.
Yes.
So what I'm going to ask next is, if I give you my 10,000 now, what am I going to get? If I put my 10,000 in your mutual fund, I'm going to make profits. How much profits? Run me through that concept of making profits through a mutual fund.
So the mutual fund is going to be based on, so the benefit of a mutual fund is tied to the activities of 117 Capital as a fund manager managing that fund. Now, what we've done to this Halal Mutual Fund is that we benchmarked it with 7 years bond, which hovers around 15.75%, give or take some plus or minus, you're now looking at maybe about 16%. So with that is the targeted return. And targeted return means that based on what we've been doing over the years, we believe that we should be able to invest and make within that range of a return. If we do better, everybody shares in the upside of that achievement.
So you mean it's not fixed?
So it's not fixed, it's targeted. And this target has been set based on how we've been investing and the results that we've been getting. And it is benchmarked with the Sukuk. So even if you go to invest in a Sukuk today, you would still get 15.75 if it's the most recent one. Because the previous ones, the return rates are slightly lower on an annual basis. I think it's important to mention that some of the flexibilities that the mutual fund offers to individuals is that when you invest in it, there's a 3-month lock-in period. That 3-month lock-in period allows us to put the money to work. And at the end of every day, which we undertake investments, buying and selling of securities, buying and investing in and out of business activities, we will reevaluate the net asset value of the fund. So the share price of 100 naira moves from 100 naira to 102 naira, to 105 naira, to 110 naira, based on our investment activities. After month 3, it means that individuals can come back and say they want to sell a portion of what they have, because what everybody would have is a number of units. So for 10,000 naira, you have 100 units, and then you do the multiplier, you have so many units available to you. You can come back and say you want to sell 10 units because you have something that you want to do. And your sale price at that day will be based on what that share offer would be. So if it's now you've entered at 100 naira per unit, and at the day you want to exit, it's 120 naira, it means that you've made a benefit of that difference multiplied by the number of units that you want to sell at that time. But if you want to add to your 10,000 naira, say you now get an additional 20,000 naira, you want to add to make it 30,000 naira, you're going to purchase at the entry price of that time. So if the entry price at that time is 119 naira, then you're going to enter at 119 naira per unit. So the amount of money you have, so your units begin to increase. So our targeted return is 15.75 to 16%. It is not fixed. Based on the outcome of our investment activities, everybody will share. We are going to distribute profits once a year. And the idea around that is for investments, for anyone to benefit from investments, the longer you keep your money working, the more benefit you derive from that investment activity. And that is why we will now take 1 year before we distribute profit. But if you come within the year to reduce your holdings, you still benefit from the profits because you're selling at a unit price that is higher than what you entered. Yes. So just to provide perspective to the dynamics of entry and exits with your funds.
Yeah, that's understood. So it's something that I appreciate on a daily basis.
It appreciates on a daily basis.
That's very interesting.
So appreciates and decline. So there's up and there's down, all dependent on the outcome of the investment activities. But based on our expertise and the quality of people that we have, we do the best that we can to make that positive trajectory, to make that positive growth.
Benchmarks this at a performance that is around 15.75 to 16%.
Yes, we have.
And there is a possibility that I can make more.
Yes, there is.
Great. I'm already thinking of how much I'm giving you. So my next question is going to be what's the risks involved in investing in this fund? Are there any risks associated to investing in this fund?
Oh, yes. Life in itself is a risk, but you have to live it. Because at the end point, we're all going to go somewhere. So investing in anything has its risks. And one of the things that ethical finance seeks to promote is fairness. So in the mutual fund, there's a risk to it. There is the potential for benefit in terms of profit earning, and there is the potential for loss bearing as well. And it all depends on how the markets and the activities of 117 forward the mutual fund handled. Just the same way you have the stock market today is good, the next day you hear some people have made losses, but business in itself requires that entry and exit of business activities for you to make a profit or make a loss. At the end of the year, what you want to try and achieve is that your final position is better than your entry point. So the risks that we are exposed to are market risks. So market risks have to do with our overall macroeconomic issues, inflation rates, monetary policy rates by the CBN, which impacts all of us and informs our decision to now want to look for investments outlets so that we can try to fight things like inflation. So cost of goods are increasing. It means that even when we are engaging in business, our expectations from those businesses are greater. So market risk is one of those things. The issue with liquidity risk, not so much. Liquidity risk now has to do with the ability for a customer to come and say they need a portion of their money back. Because it's an open-ended fund, where we operate a reserve that is tagged between 5 to 8% of the size of the fund for management of any redemptions that come through. So that at any point in time, just as I said earlier, 3 to 5 business days, you're able to get your money out. So there is a reserve that's set aside that is not invested actively to manage those who may need to take out their money. While at the same time, those who are now investing brand new are adding to the size of the fund as we move. So those are the two main associated, at least for those who are investing into the mutual fund. Yes.
So this last point which you just made about having a reserve. So you're trying to say that there is no, don't have any need. A time will never come that I will come and I need my money and then they're telling me to take more than 5%.
No, that's right. So everything is within the prospectus. So before you invest in the halal fund, it's expected that you will go through the prospectus public documents. You see the specifications of the timelines, 3 business days, 5 business days, or 7 business days, but it is fixed and it is approved by SEC. So anything that makes us default on that, it means that we equally are going to have an issue with our own regulators. And just to give added comfort, we report on the fund's performance on a daily and a weekly basis to our regulators. So there's no hiding place for any organization that is engaged in mutual funds, collecting public funds and things it can hide. There's no hiding place. So for the investors, you have the added comfort and security that we have government regulatory bodies that are overseeing our business activities.
Right. So reporting a lot of information about the mutual fund, very, very interesting. I want to kickstart. I want to subscribe to the mutual fund. What are the steps?
So first, you can go to our website. We have a page dedicated to the Halal Fund, which are the 117 Halal Fund. You can either download an application form from there, or you have a form, an online form, digital form, where you go there, fill it out. It will come to one of our desks, and you receive a call, follow through on you on how to make the investment and finalize. One thing I would like to mention is that because we're investing in a public fund, know your customer is extremely important. It's a regulatory requirement, just the same way you're opening a bank account with any of the financial institutions. That is what you're doing with us, participating in the mutual fund. So the requirements for opening an account with us will still require your BVN, your NIN, copies of your valid IDs, and other information, your bank account, where you want to receive your payments, your utility bill to confirm that this is where you're located, your address, all of those things are required. And the reason is because we need to have as much information as necessary because we're managing people's money. It's very probable that we will have thousands of participants in our mutual fund. So to separate the thousands of participants means that we need as much information so that we do not get things mixed up. So go out to our website, take the form, call our phone number, and request for the form if you want to. We can have officers come meet you where you are. We can even work with you over the phone to clarify any areas that require explanations. We have officers And so the onboarding process and registration process is very straightforward, very seamless. You can even open an account for your children, your nieces, your nephews. Let's start to teach them how to invest from early, regardless of their age.
If I have newborn baby,
A newborn baby, not those that are still yet to be born.
Yeah.
Then yes, as long as the baby has an ID card, then yes, there's a birth certificate, you can invest on them. So those savings that you have, our kids usually have piggy banks. So I would advise that those piggy banks, use a hammer and just hit on it, take the funds. I wouldn't say take all the funds. I'll say take 80% of that piggy bank and put it into the mutual fund. The remaining 20%, leave it for them as their own emergency fund the day they want to buy a pencil or they want to take some ice cream. Then you're able to differentiate for them what it's like to have savings, an emergency fund, and then what it's like to have an investment. So early on, beginning of career, we didn't grow up learning to invest. So it's a culture that we should try as much as possible to imbibe in ourselves and then extend that learning to our kids.
spoke about the piggy bank. I remember as a young child, once we do that, like 6 months, when we open it and we go to school the next day, and the baller sponsor everybody in the class, buy things for everybody. If your baby you saved 1.5 the whole 6 months. Then, so like you said, building that culture early on puts you on the trajectory for success as well, as early as possible.
Yeah.
So my next question will be: some people have problems with hearing, okay, I'm going to make a profit and all. Then when you now tell them this is your profit, you now say that the gross profit, net profit. Are there any charges or fees associated with this mutual fund? Any maybe hidden costs, taxes, or anything associated?
Okay, so I think what's important for all of us to know is that we're all bound by the laws of the land when it comes to taxes. So I wouldn't even call it tax and pay costs because we're all supposed to make our payments or taxes based on income. Now, for every time you invest, there's what is referred to as withholding tax, where there's a benefit you've derived and you're supposed to be withholding that will go to the government. Now, we can't run away from it. Anybody who tells you that there's no withholding tax on investment and is a regulated authority for business is that it's either they're bearing the cost or they kind of like just hitting it away from your mind, but it is taken out from the fund before the sharing happens. So if today I do I get 1,000 naira gain on my investments, before I turn around and share that money with everybody, I would have taken out what is due to the government. Then what is left of it, I now share with everyone. So in that regard, I'm not necessarily showing you that I've done a deduction on your entitlement. But in the real sense of it, I've already done that because it's a law and I can't run away from the law. So the only taxes, what I can give assurances on is that we will not hide anything away from our investors. We won't hide anything away from our investors. We'll make everything very, very clear. And where there is to be a deduction that is mandated by law, it will be spelled out very clearly. If there's a way we can manage it, we will. But if we can't, then it is something that we all have to bear because taxes are part of the benefits, if I may say, that come with the benefit of investing. So taxes come alongside the benefit of investing. If you invest, you gain a benefit, give out a portion to tax.
Okay. So everything is transparent. There is no hidden cost.
No hidden cost.
Everything is clear.
Yes.
So my next question, still on cost.
Yes.
if I want to mention something about a lock-in period for 90 days, where that's when you deploy the fund, I cannot access my money, I cannot trade it. So if I come and I say, I want to use my money within that 90 days, can I just remove my money and go and you just vex and it's finished? Or can I remove, if you're going to, can I first of all remove that money? If no, is there, or if you say yes, you can remove it, is there any charges to remove it? So the questions are two. Can I? If it's no, then that means there's no way I can go about it. And if there's a way I can, is there a charge that you would deduct if I remove it?
So I'll tell you, no, you can't remove your money. And that's why it's very clear from the onset that there's a 90-day lock-in period. So we're not expecting you to, we're not a checking account. We're not a bank account where you can use your ATM and then you go and you spend the money. We would hope and expect that the money that you're investing in a mutual fund is money that maybe you're not needing in the next 1 year or more, or you don't need it in the next 3 months, maybe till 6 months, so that 90-day lock-in period is left locked in. And we have it clearly written on the application form. And that application form requires your signature before we receive your money. So the moment you sign it, it means you've consented to that. And that 90-day period is non-negotiable.
That's just so discipline. So
Yes, so financial discipline. So investment requires discipline.
All right, so non-negotiable, 90 days lock-in period. So are there any, still on taxes and costs, but now, are there any tax benefits invested in this fund, like maybe potential, tax advantages for the investors if they put their money in the fund?
As of today, not yet. As of today, not yet. Usually tax benefits are derived from a bouquet of investment options. Governments tend to come out with key areas where they incentives for people to invest in. We do work very closely with our regulator to see how we can include or even try to bring about some benefits that will come to the investors when they invest in this type of funds. But as of today, that doesn't exist.
So it doesn't exist now, but you put in efforts to see that something.
So we're working together with our tax advisors, and we equally request that everybody does get a tax advisor so that you have an understanding of what you're exposed to from a tax perspective. I think that is important.
Yeah. So this will be our last question, unless if your response prompts another one. So, can people outside Nigeria invest in the mutual fund? That is one. If yes, must it be in the Nigerian local currency? Or can I invest in the mutual fund with my USD, with my Saudi Riyal? How would that work?
So people outside Nigeria can invest, but it has to be in Nigerian naira. For every fund that is created, that fund is specific. So you can have a US dollar-based mutual fund. For this one, it is a naira denominated fund. So anybody who is investing in the Nigerian naira as a currency. So you can convert your US dollars into naira and then you invest. When you're getting your money, you're getting naira in return, and then you are converting into US dollars to send it back. I would say that for those who are outside Nigeria and giving consideration to investing in a mutual fund or any type of instrument, as the case may be, is that the purpose of that investment should be guided. So if they're doing it on behalf of family and friends, or kids, nieces, nephews, and all, it makes sense. Given the nature of naira devaluation, and the cost of the country. Those who are outside the country need to be aware of this. It's not something I can respond to in phone right now, but it would be nice to have conversations with anybody who is outside the country so that we can explain to you in more detail what it entails to do this investment, what potential outcomes you may derive from it, so that it better guides your decision-making process. I think what is most critical for us as 117 Capital is that we're seen to all of you and all of us as a guide to making your investment decisions, so that you are able to manage your personal finance and your wealth management projection or aspiration. We're able to guide you on it a bit better. So yes, you can invest even if you're outside the country. It's going to be in Naira. So if you still operate in Nigeria account, then it's easy for you to make that transfer. And when we're returning your money to you, we'll send it back to your Nigeria account. You have friends and family. So even when you invest and you get a benefit here in Nigeria, instead of you having to, like, you have an investment that is in Naira, you're generating returns, you're using that to sort out whatever issues or things you need to do in Nigeria. So you're kind of able to manage things that you do locally.
Yes, thank you very much. We're still keeping you here. We have a lot of people in the audience listening to us, and we have tried to address the frequently asked questions. Now let's see if there are asked questions that are not frequent. So it's now going to be up to the people in the webinar. If you have any questions for our ED, then you can. So the moderator should be able to control that. If you have any questions, the floor is open to you.
The questions will just be where do I get the application for?
Yes.
Whether the questions will be written down, how is it? Will they just type? They can just type the question.
Okay. Hello?
Yes.
Okay, so we have one question on the group chat. How often is the profit shared? The investment yields the targeted profit. Okay, does the investment yield targeted profit annually? So two questions in one. First one, how often is the profit shared, and is it shared annually or not? So please, for everyone listening, if you have questions, you can just type it in here or raise your hand and we'll give you the opportunity to speak. So over to you, Imran.
Yeah.
So the targeted return is 7.5 to 16% per annum, and it is distributed on an annual basis. It is distributed on an annual basis. I hope this answers the question.
Yes, it does. I hope that's clear. He said the targeted profit is around 15.75 to 16%, and it is distributed on an annual basis. Is there any other question?
This doesn't take away the fact that if you come back in 4 months, which is not up to a year, the unit price of the mutual fund may have moved up a notch. It may not have attained the projected 16, but it would have moved. So you can still sell a portion of your units if you want to. So there's still a benefit for you at almost any time in the year. It's just that when profits are distributed, it's distributed once a year. And it is advised for you to wait for that period, because that's when the benefit will come through. Like I said earlier, the longer your money is kept in investing, the more benefits that will accrue to you.
Okay. So that means that while I'm waiting a year, and while profits are distributed a year, there is potential for me to still make profits before a year if I choose to take some of my money.
But if you take some, you're reducing your units.
You're reducing your units.
Yes.
Okay. I think we have another question, right?
Yes, Imran, we have another question from Mahmoud Abdul Qadir. Please, what is your balance sheet and what was your last year's performance? So I'm not sure if this is regarding the mutual fund or generally speaking to 117 Capital. But since this is a mutual fund webinar, I think our guest should speak to the mutual fund. So what was the performance like and what is the growth or what is the final target we are looking to raise or for the mutual fund?
So this mutual fund is the first for 117 Capital. So this is our first halal mutual fund, and we're targeting a 500 million naira fund size. Our targeted return is 15.75 to 16%, and that is where we're headed right now for the fund. In terms of us as a company, portfolio under management right now, just to provide perspective, is that we have funds under management of about 9 billion naira right now. And we have assets under management. So funds under management means people's money. Assets under management, we have about 2.5 billion at the moment, if it's to provide comfort for Mahmoud. So we've been at it and we're running stronger. So we're looking at growing our activities. Hope this answers your question.
Yes, but Mahmoud also wanted to know, with regards to this, your fund under management, which you mentioned, he's trying to get some perspective with regards to previous performances. Can you, even if it's not the mutual fund, have you performed as high as this projected amount you're speaking of, 15.75 in the past?
Oh, yes. So yes, we have. Yes, we have. So there are different investments variables. So the mutual fund is one of them. Directly, we offer to clients a Mudaraba investments window, where we engage with people that can keep their money with us or invest their money with us for either 90 days, 180 days, 365 days. And with that, we still hover around anything between 14 to as much as 18%, dependent on the amount of time that fund is going to be left. Now, in our investment activities, we are bound, well, I won't say bound, but we do make more than that percentage. Our performance over the last 1 year has been better than 16%. And I think the audience needs to know that it's a profit-sharing relationship. So if we say we're benchmarking the performance of the fund to 16%, it means that we're trying as much as possible to beat that, because from this mutual fund, as fund managers, we're only entitled to 1.5% of the net asset value of the fund at the end of the gap. So with that, our own amount of money that we get is already predetermined and is regulated by SEC. So we won't be able to get more than that. There may be a performance incentive if we perform better. So it's we're confident that we'll be able to deliver on the benchmark that we set.
That's good news and very comforting for everyone, Mahmoud and every other person.
But if Mahmoud needs more clarity, then we'd be happy to engage with him after this session on a phone call or a visit.
Okay.
Yes.
So your questions can keep coming in. Another question I would ask is the mutual fund open to just individuals or as an organization? Can I invest in mutual fund?
Of course. So with organizations, a lot of organizations have finance departments and treasury departments. So there's the concept of liquidity management. So for every company that is engaged in business, there are times where it has more money than it needs at a particular point in time. So it can actually, instead of leaving that money in its bank account, it could invest a portion of that money in the mutual fund. So there are different types of organizations, and the answer is yes, organizations can invest, individuals can invest.
All right, so it's the mutual fund seems to be an all-accommodating fund. You said children can invest, individual adults, organizations as well. So it means that nobody has an excuse of not being subscribing to your mutual fund.
Yeah, even we as 117 as a company is investing in the fund as well. So it's not just us pulling money from the public. Our own shareholders' funds is going into the mutual fund as well. Yes.
All right. Do we have any other questions?
Okay, yeah, so we have a question. We have two questions here. Good morning. Please, I've tried to make use of the website from the mutual fund, but couldn't get through. Could we have alternative access routes or 10K voucher, please? So this goes to contact points. Somebody is having issues with getting information from the website. Is there any other way that they can reach out to 117 Capital and see how they can invest in the mutual fund? The other one is, where can I get the prospectus, a PDF format that they can download and go through?
So I'll start with the second question. The prospectus is available on our website, on the Halal Fund, the Halal Fund page. There's a download link on the website where you can download it from. For the benefit of you participating in this session, you can just drop your email. Everybody can drop their email. We can send you copies of the prospectus. And then at the same time, we have our phone number. You can call us. You can send us an email via info@117capital.com. We respond. And sometimes we understand that there are some link issues that may come up, either dependent on the connections and all, but we're here 24/7 to help resolve any issues that may serve as a hindrance to you finalizing your investments with us.
Okay, so they can still access the forms via the website as
They
well.
can access the forms via the website.
And if they
If they make the phone call, we can make physical forms available to them as well.
yes, and we can send it through emails and any of the we can send it to them through emails.
Yes.
They can print by themselves as well and fill and send.
Yes, yes. And then we can make a link available if they have a problem with the online link for filling the form online. We can print out, fill it, and send it back to us.
All right. Zachary, I think there's another question.
Okay, so the question here is, to achieve the annual cycle, is there a deadline in place to start the investment? So I guess Mr. Goni here is trying to find out if it is an open-ended, can he do it continuously, or is there a deadline where if you miss, you cannot invest in the mutual fund?
So the mutual fund is open-ended. You can come in at any time. It's open-ended. So there's no end date for when you can invest. You can continuously invest every month. If you like, you can set a monthly investment plan, and you can put in 50,000 or 100,000 every month and increase your stake within the mutual fund. That is possible. If it's when are we starting the investments, we have a reporting period of 16th January, where SEC would give us consent for all investment activities to now commence, because we have to report to them the feedback of the market as to what it is we've been able to pull together, the size of the fund, and then they would now need to say, okay, they'll validate everybody that is participating in the fund, and they say, you have the clearance, go and start investing. So this period that we're in is a period where we're using it to engage with people, to give you the understanding you need to participate, clarify any issues or concerns. But investment activities will likely start from middle of January, God willing, the moment we get SEX clearance. So this just points out to the fact that we can't do things the way we want. It's guided and overseen by the Security and Exchange Commission.
So just to highlight something that Tony I think is asking, is also now you start investing in January, which means you're sharing profit in January next year.
Yes.
So he's saying that if he invested in, let's say, October, if you're sharing profit, are you sharing profit to him as well in January? Or if he came into the fund in October, is it that his fund will stay next October before he gets his own profit? Or are you sharing profit to everybody depending on what your own amount is yielded in January?
So there will be a fixed date when profits is going to be distributed. From the moment we get SEX consent to start investing, then from that day is a year away for us to now start that process. But everybody has a 3-month lock-in where if you put in your money in October, November, December, January, and come in January ending, you will have the right to take out your money. But because the investment activities have not taken stream, it means you get back face value, which is 100 naira. So the benefit of your investment has not even kicked in. So the wait period, which is the 1 year that we want to use to distribute profit to everybody, is targeted at trying to make the best performance for the fund to the benefit of all participants involved in this collective investment scheme.
Okay.
I do hope it has touched on the question or the answers to talking.
So yes, I think it has. Are there any other questions before we?
So no, those are all the questions we have for today. So
Right.
people might want to find out what the next date is and what we are chatting about in our next session in this series.
All right. So the next date is going to be on Tuesday. That is this coming Tuesday. So our plan or the schedule for this webinar series on the mutual fund is a Tuesday, Friday. So every week, Tuesday and Friday, we'll be having this kind of series. Now we've given a general overview on what the mutual fund is generally. Next week, we'll now be touching on nitty-gritties. Maybe you're trying to know about the details of the Sharia compliance, or you want to know details about liquidity, you want to know details about performance. So every day in the week, we'll be taking one specific aspect and then breaking it down to smaller bits so that even you that is in this webinar, if you're speaking to someone about the mutual fund, they'll say, are you working in 117 Capital? Because you now understand it point by point, step by step, nook and cranny. So next week, Tuesday, we'll be meeting again for this session. So just to give a recap on what has been discussed, the ED mentioned that the mutual fund is unitized. It's currently at 100 naira. One can buy a minimum of 100 units at 10,000 naira. So one quick question, can I buy 11,000? Or does it have to be 10,000, 20, 30, 40?
So it's 10,000 and then multiples of 1,000 naira going on.
Multiples of 1,000?
Yes.
So I can do, okay. So that's clear. We're clear on that as well. And there's a lock-in period of 90 days as mentioned. It's non-negotiable. After that, one could trade part of their fund for the value which it is being traded for on that day, and profits are being shared annually. It is something open to people. So when I say people, dissociate religion to people regardless of their faith, their gender, ethnicity. It doesn't have any bias. It is purely ethical. And what haven't I got from what you said?
I think you've got most of it. I think the only part that maybe you've left out which hasn't been mentioned, is that let's all be encouraged to participate in investment. I think it's extremely important. Last week, I had a conversation with my kids, and we actually did break their piggy banks.
It's back. All right. Thank you very much, and we hope to see all of you. Invite your friends for the next webinar on Tuesday to gain more clarity. We'll be expecting your messages. We'll be expecting your inquiries to get the forms. Thank you very much for joining. It was nice having all of you. See you on Tuesday. Bye.
Thank you everyone for joining. The phone numbers you can call if you have any inquiries is 080 0000 117. So essentially 08, then 6 zeros, then 117. Let me call it again. 080 00 00 117. We'll reach out to everybody that has joined. We'll send you links to the video. We'll send you information about the Halal Mutual Fund. We'll send you forms. We'll give you our contact information, the phone numbers, the emails, so that you can share it with your friends, your family, and book a date for the next session. Thank you very much from 117 Capital, and see you on Tuesday, inshallah.